Good evening. This August 19th, 2025 Board of Aldermen meeting is hereby called to order. I'd like to ask our friend Quincy Henderson, Pastor Henderson from Tabernacle of Praise Church, to lead us in the invocation, and then I'll lead the Pledge of Allegiance following that. Please stand.
Let us pray. Eternal Father, we thank you on today, oh God. We praise you. We thank you for being God and God alone. We thank you for this day. We ask, oh God, that you would bless this meeting, that you would bless the council, oh God, that you would grant them favor today, oh God, that there would be unity in the meeting, oh God. We thank you for blessing this city, the great city of Olive Branch. We thank you, God, for granting us with love. Thank you, oh God, for granting us with wisdom on tonight. We thank you for knowledge and understanding, for only you and you alone are worthy to be praised. We ask, oh God, that you would bless each and every family that's here, every council member family, that you would bless them with good health, good mind, oh God. And we thank you that you would bless our emergency personnel, police department, our school, our students in this city of Olive Branch. We thank you on tonight. We give you the glory and the honor and the praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Just general notification for those that speak tonight. Be advised that this meeting is streamed live on the city's YouTube channel and also archived for playback. And as always, those of us with microphones should be lit to green so that the audience can hear what's being discussed. Ms. Stewart, would you please conduct roll call?
Aldridge. Here. Collins.
Here.
Dickerson.
Here.
Earhart.
Here.
Gamage.
Here.
Hamilton. Here. Wallace.
Here.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. All present, so quorum established. Board, you have before you the regular minutes of our August the 5th meeting, minutes. Any questions on those that you've had through the weekend? Any questions or motions?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Wallace, motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Collins. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The other set of minutes is for our special called and publicly noticed meeting on August the 12th, 2025. Questions or motions on those minutes?
Second.
Mr. Collins, motion. Mr. Wallace, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Board, I'm going to forego with the mayor's update, and I'll update you on general operational items by email, just based on the length of the agenda tonight. Moving forward, the consent agenda, you have items 1 through 22. Items 1 through 22. Any questions or motions on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Gamage, second by Ms. Hamilton. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved. Under Planning Commission, consent items, not going to belabor the point of reading items A, B, and C, and mostly housekeeping items on those new planning business. Any motions on those, or is there any questions? If they need to be pulled for public discussion, we can discuss them. Mostly housekeeping items.
So moved.
Mr. Collins' motion, is it second? Second, Ms. Aldridge. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. This is public hearing for consideration of application for a zoning map amendment submitted by Ben Smith of Smith Walker Engineering and Surveying on behalf of property owner Acre Family Trust. The request is to rezone 2 parcels totaling 28.59 plus or minus acres from AR Agricultural Residential District to R1 Single Family Residential District for the purpose of a detached single family residential subdivision. Subject property is located on the northeast corner of Hamilton Circle North and Hamilton Circle West, east of Hummingbird. This public hearing date was set on July the 15th for tonight. Staff report, please.
Mayor, the very next item is a preliminary plat associated with this. If the board permits, I may just present both of them.
Okay. Board okay with that, items 2 and 3 being presented at the same time, then you can vote on them separately?
Yes.
Item 3 is consideration of application for a preliminary plat for Acre Farm subdivision submitted by Ben Smith, Smith Walker Engineering and Surveying on behalf of property owner Acre Family Trust. The request is subdivide 25.59 plus or minus acres into 71 single-family lots and 2 common open spaces. There is a companion application requesting a zoning from AR Agricultural Residential District to R1 Single-Family Residential District for the purpose of a residential subdivision. Subject property is located northeast corner of Hamilton Circle North and Hamilton Circle West, east of Hummingbird Drive. Staff report.
Mayor Alderman, before you is a request to consider the rezoning of 2 parcels along Hamilton Circle North and Hummingbird Drive. These 2 parcels total 28.58 acres. Give you a general idea of where we're in the city. This is Hamilton Circle North. This is Bluebird Lane. Bluebird Lane, you have Craft Road to the east, and you have Hummingbird Drive to the west. And it's currently a vacant piece of property just to the west of Ivy Trail subdivision. This is Hamilton Place subdivision to the southeast corner of the vacant subject parcels. Both parcels are currently zoned AR, agricultural residential, which requires that lots should be a minimum 1 acre in size in the development. They are currently vacant. They are bordered to the north by rural estate lot subdivision that are also zoned AR, agricultural residential. Bordered to the east by both an AR piece of property, but significantly an R1 zoning district along Mary Drive. To the south, you have the R1 zoning district and an R3 planned residential district area. That is Hamilton Place subdivision. To the west, that's where you have Ivy Trail, it's also a PUD. And then further to the northwest of this property is another area zoned AR. The request before you is to rezone these 2 parcels to R1 single-family residential zoning district. If so zoned, that would basically consist in extending this R1 district onto these 2 parcels, basically. The purpose of the rezoning is for the construction of the Acre Farms subdivision. So the developer is proposing to develop this over 28 acres for the Acre Farms subdivision. It will consist of 71 detached single-family residential lots. Minimum lot size in the R1 zoning district is 12,500 square feet. So that will be the minimum size of any lot. Actually, as shown on the plat, the minimum size of the smallest lot is about 12,504 square feet. And the largest is about 15 to 16,000 square feet. All lots are required in the R1 zoning district to have minimum 85 feet street lot frontage. So the width of the lots have to be minimum 85 feet. The developer proposes that houses in this subdivision will have a minimum heated area of 2,000 square feet. So that's the heated area only, minimum 2,000 square feet. As was recommended by the Planning Commission, 75% of all building walls will be masonry material. This is things like stone or brick. Of all the elevations, minimum 75%. Along Hummingbird Lane, Hummingbird Drive, and Hamilton Circle, the 7 lots on Hamilton Circle and the 7 lots proposed on Hummingbird Drive will all be 2 stories with side-loaded garages. To the interior of the subdivision, minimum of 20% will be 1.5 to 2 stories. 2 trees will be planted in the front of each lot and preserved to the full extent possible in this stormwater detention area. Some trees, of course, will have to be cut down there in order to construct the gazebo and the walking trail that you have there. Where those trees are cut down for the trail, the developer agrees to plant some other trees along the trail itself, on the sides of the trail. The development will be completed in one phase. In other words, this will not be a phased project. There will be right-of-way dedication on Mary Drive. So this is Mary Drive. It currently terminates at this location. It does not have terminate in a T, nor does it terminate in a cul-de-sac. It just stops. The developer proposes for this road to be fully constructed and extended into the new subdivision. The way it is lined up, only part of the property or the right-of-way will be on the subject property. The other lane will be on the adjoining property owned by Mr. and Mrs. Blake, which is not the subject of this application. As such, the developer proposes to dedicate a right-of-way for future construction if the Blakes ever donate additional property or dedicate additional property for that road to be completed. Under the law, there are specific conditions for reviewing a rezoning application. The first is whether the original zoning classification for the property was a mistake. The applicant makes no claim that the existing AR zoning of the property is a mistake. The Planning Commission found that this property was annexed in 1990 with the AR zoning district, and since then, there has been no rezoning of the parcels. As such, no mistake is claimed. The second condition or criteria, which is actually in two parts. The first part, whether there has been a change in the character of the area. This is the subject property. Within the last 25 years, if we look at the Herbert Acre Craft Road subdivision, it was rezoned on January 8, 2000 from agricultural residential to R1, the same zoning district that the applicant is requesting. Lot sizes in this subdivision range from 12,798 square feet to about 25,000 square feet. The character of this particular area, therefore, has changed from agricultural rural residential to suburban neighborhood, which aligns with what the applicant is asking for. Hamilton Place to the southeast, the subdivision, there have been multiple rezoning actions from 1996 to 1997. From AR to R1, lot sizes range from 12,503 square feet to about 28,000 square feet. The character of the area, of this particular area, therefore, has also changed from agriculture or agricultural residential to suburban neighborhood. The Ivy Trail subdivision, there have been multiple rezoning actions from 1996 to 1999, from AR agricultural residential to PERD. Lot sizes range from 9,600 square feet to just about more than an acre. The character of that area has also changed from agricultural residential to suburban neighborhood. Taking these three surrounding subdivisions into consideration, it can be concluded that the character of this area, except for the suburban, for the rural estate lots along Bluebird Lane that are still more than 1 acre in size, the character of this area has changed significantly with these three subdivisions from agricultural or rural residential to suburban neighborhood, which aligns with what the developer is asking for. With regard to whether a public need exists for the rezoning, the comprehensive plan of the city articulates the public needs of the city because it's based on studies, various studies that take the public need regarding land uses in the city into consideration. The future land use map in the comprehensive plan designates these two parcels, that is a subject property, as suburban neighborhood. And the comprehensive plan specifies or provides that with regards to the character of suburban neighborhood, they have lots ranging from 6,000 square feet to 30,000 square feet, with most of them being in the 12,000 to 15,000 square feet range. That's exactly what the developer is proposing to do on this piece of property. The subdivisions, they generally have urban roadway sections consisting of curb, gutter, and sidewalks, which aligns with what the developer will construct with regard to the streets in this subdivision. Based on the finding that the character of the area has changed from rural residential to suburban neighborhood, and that the proposed subdivision aligns with the comprehensive plan of the city, the Planning Commission at its meeting on July 8 unanimously recommended approval of this rezoning. With regard to the preliminary plat, which addresses precisely how the lots will be laid out, or the subdivision will be laid out, how the streets will be constructed, stormwater management, amenities, and other features that will be in the subdivision. There will be two amenities. The first is a walking trail proposed around this stormwater retention pond, and then there will be a gazebo at this location for recreational use by residents of the subdivision. With regard to transportation infrastructure, Hummingbird, the new street is proposed, which will be offset from Red Bird Drive in Ivy Trail. The reason for that offset is to avoid speed-through traffic. Folks going from Ivy Trail to this new subdivision. Once you offset, they're forced to slow down at that intersection, make a turn, and then slow down again to enter into the new road. That's the reason for that offset. As I did mention, the applicant is proposing that this will become effective at final plat. The dedication of this right-of-way for Mary Drive future extension will only become effective at final plat approval. The developer will also widen Hummingbird Drive and Hamilton Circle within the street frontage of the property to the full 50 feet right-of-way local street standards. They will be constructed with curb, gutter, and sidewalks. All other streets within the subdivision will also be constructed to that same standard. The subdivision will terminate at this location in a TN that will be at least 120 feet deep, meeting the requirement for fire trucks turnaround, and that will provide access to the Blake's property. In other words, this property will not be landlocked. At the Planning Commission meeting, the neighborhood residents, some of them that spoke at the Planning Commission meeting, raised up the issue of potential traffic congestion at the intersection of Craft Road and Hamilton Circle, precisely at this intersection. We did not have any traffic data, traffic studies available at that meeting for the Planning Commission to make any informed decision. That intersection has got certain existing conditions that have nothing to do with the proposed development. For example, there is an embankment at this intersection that is existing. The neighborhood raised the complaint that it poses a side distance issue. That is an existing condition. It is not associated with this particular subdivision proposal. Where traffic backs up at this location at peak hours in a way that may require the construction of a left turn lane will require traffic studies. There are a number of utilities that can make construction of traffic lanes at this intersection difficult, and is worth pointing out. You've got a power pole, these lines here in yellow, that's a gas line. You have water lines at this intersection. All of those will need to be determined in future. As such, one of the conditions that you have in the staff report is that a developer would submit a traffic study to the city engineer for review. The city engineer will review that study and determine whether that left turn lane is necessary, because you have to take into consideration existing conditions and what this development would put at that intersection to make that determination. Once the city engineer makes that determination, he will make his recommendation to the Board of Aldermen. The board then will decide whether the intersection should be improved considering the traffic conditions or any cost. If the board so decides, then the developer is willing to participate in a shared cost for the improvement, for the addition of that traffic lane, a left turn northbound traffic lane at that intersection. With regard to utilities, there are water lines shown here in blue, sewer lines shown here in green, gas lines in yellow, available within the vicinity of this property for the construction of lots that are less than 1 acre in size. So utilities are available for this development. In this particular area, there is a sewer line there. That area is being proposed for the stormwater detention. The line may need to be relocated. That area is also kind of a low spot. There is also a low spot at this location, which is why the developer has proposed to put stormwater retention or detention facilities at those two locations to help with the management of stormwater in that particular neighborhood and ensure that these lots to the north do not flood. So this will actually help alleviate the existing condition. A 25-feet buffer will be provided at the north between the proposed subdivision and the adjoining rural estate lots along Bluebird Lane. Where we currently do not have trees, for example, if we look in this area, there are no trees. All those trees have been taken down. The developer proposes to replant them. That's why these areas are hatching. That hatching denotes replanting of those trees to fortify that buffer. The buffer will also have a 6-foot high cedar aesthetic fence with brick columns at the rear of that particular property, in the entire northern property line. So that will be the buffer that will be provided in that particular area. The Planning Commission on July 8 reviewed this application and unanimously voted to approve it subject to a number of conditions. After that meeting, the applicant has made a couple of changes to the application. For example, at the Planning Commission meeting, there was no trail. The Planning Commission did request that that amenity be provided. The hammerhead was not properly designed. That has been changed. A number of changes have been made to the plat, to the preliminary plat. The developer has also updated certain standards for the development, such as providing those 2-story houses along Hummingbird and Hamilton Circle. Those have been incorporated into this motion that is before you. Namely, the board vote to approve the rezoning, then the plat can be approved subject to a number of conditions. Condition number 1 will no longer be necessary if the rezoning goes through. Condition number 4 emphasizes that those trees, 2-inch to 2.5-inch caliber trees, 2 of them will be planted in the front of each lot before occupancy. Condition number 5 addresses the need for the 25-feet wide buffer that will be provided along the entire northern property line, including the 6-feet high ornamental stained cedar fence with brick columns. Condition number 7 to number 9, these were standalone conditions that address the need for the 2,000 square feet homes, 75% masonry wall, all houses along Hummingbird being 2 stories, all garages along Hummingbird Drive and Hamilton Circle being side loaded. These conditions are maintained. The only change you have here is a requirement that when the applicant at final plat submits, the applicant at final plat will submit for concurrent review the covenants and restrictions of the subdivision. And these development standards should be incorporated into those covenants and restrictions of the subdivision. So that is the only change you have here. Hummingbird Drive and Hamilton Circle will be widened to local street standard, as I did indicate, having a 50-feet right-of-way with curbs, gutter, and sidewalks as shown on the preliminary plat along the development's frontage. Condition number 9 addresses the widening or the provision of left turn lane along at the intersection of Craft Road and Hamilton Circle North. The provision of that lane is subject to the decision of the Board of Aldermen in the future based on what traffic study will show. So the developer has to provide those traffic studies to the city engineer, and then the city engineer will make a recommendation to the board. That recommendation will include the traffic conditions, what the cost will be, and the board can make an informed decision at that time. If it is determined that from the traffic study that existing conditions are okay with regard to traffic backing up at that intersection, if it is determined that a left turn lane is not needed, then this condition will basically become voided, so to speak. Condition number 12, which I have struck out here, has been incorporated into condition number 7. That had to do with our final plat submitted. The developer shall submit for concurrent review the draft declaration of covenants and restrictions. That has been incorporated into condition number 7. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Song. Board, do you have any questions on the staff report before the applicant is allowed to come forward? Any questions on the staff report? Hearing none, does applicant have anything to add that hasn't been covered? Come forward. For all people that speak tonight, if you will, once you speak, there's some blue cards on the small desk behind the lectern, and if you will, complete that with name and address so the clerk can have it to have a record of who spoke tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to present our project tonight. Really appreciate it. Song's been very helpful in advising us and trying to work through all the issues the community has, so I really appreciate his work and the rest of the staff at the city. I have two experts here tonight as well on our team that are here to answer your technical questions. Corey Brady and Chance Walker, our engineer. So if there's any technical questions, that they'd be happy to address those questions. If there should be any opposition speakers to the project, I'd like to reserve my time to address those issues with the council. And of course, we'd appreciate your approval tonight, so thank you very much.
Thank you. And your name and home address, please.
Ron Roberts, 429 Liberty Street, Fairhope, Alabama.
Thank you. Board, any questions from the technical witnesses before we take public comments? This being a public comment item, if you're here as a proponent, you're for this application, you'd like to come forward and support this application, please do so at this time.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jeanette Owens, and I reside at 7571 Hummingbird Drive.
Thank you.
As an impacted resident, I want to thank the City of Olive Branch for working with us and making sure our voices were heard during this process. We especially appreciate the inclusion and conciliatory tone of Dr. Asang, who helped guide us toward a fair middle ground. Please know that we're not against progress. We are for progress. We simply believe that progress is strongest when residents are involved and our voices help shape the outcome. It also makes it clear that future developers that they can't just roll into our neighborhood and push things through without meaningful input from the people who live there. With that said, with the developer agreeing to our recommendations that were incorporated, we feel this proposal offers a greater value to our neighborhood. For that reason, we have withdrawn our petition against the development of Acre Farm subdivision, and we are now for it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Any other individuals would like to speak for this application as a proponent for it? Seeing none, if you're here to speak against, in opposition of this application, come forward. Ask the guests tonight to please, again, give your name and address for the clerk, and ask you to try to stick to a 3-minute timeline for public comments. Thank you.
Apologize for the mask. My husband has some health issues. My name is Bobby Barrett, and our family has lived at 7266 North Hamilton Circle for many, many years. I was opposed to the original plans, and although there have been concessions made, I'd be less than honest if I said I was pleased with the final proposal. As I previously said, I have watched as our beautiful city has been carved up and almost destroyed to make way for progress, which I completely understand and accept that it can't be stopped. However, I still do not understand how any consideration has actually been given to the subject of increased traffic in our already heavily trafficked street, as well as destroying what little bit of natural beauty and habitat we have left in Olive Branch. I appreciate that improvements were made to increase property value in this area, but my property value isn't going to matter to me if I'm hit by any of the many speeding cars and trucks that frequently go up and down our street, that I encounter while getting my mail out of the mailbox, taking my garbage cans to the street, which I cannot avoid, picking up other people's garbage thrown in my ditch, or cutting the grass next to the road. Yes, the danger is there. I experience it often. Actually, just this past week, I had a near miss. So unless I'm totally unaware of an actual already done traffic study, or TIA, that has been conducted, consisting of evaluating existing traffic conditions, forecasting future traffic, and identifying potential mitigation measures, it should have already been done to that extent, because those of us who live on Hamilton Circle and the other streets, we already know there's a problem. I appreciate the fact that there's study that's going to be done at Craft Road in Hamilton. However, the street curves and it goes to Goodman, and that's where it affects several of us personally, and our traffic on Hamilton Circle is not like it is because of the residents on Hamilton Circle. It is because of the shortcuts that are being taken from Craft to Goodman, from Goodman to Craft, to Aldi's, to the movie theater, Ivy Trails, Mary Jane, Hamilton's Place. I've asked my neighbors, nobody has ever seen any of the equipment, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there was equipment there that actually did a traffic study, not an estimate based on how many people. I'll hurry, if that's for me.
30 seconds, that's fine.
Okay,
Continue.
and I appreciate the turning lane. And no one that I have talked to has ever seen any equipment. Thank you for your time. I hope this is something that is more closely considered when developing other areas that may actually impact you or your own families. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in opposition of this application? You're opposed to the application. Final call for comments for or against.
Hello, my name is Barbara Blake. I am one of the Blakes. Anyway, like I said last time, I just thank God that we have our acreage that we have behind our house. We noticed already that we have several new animals around there just recently, but we do want to thank you for your consideration for looking into the Hamilton North and Craft Road exit. I have driven it myself probably 12, 15 times this past week just to check it out myself. And it is going to be a horrible accident there one day. So anything that y'all can do to speed this up, I appreciate it. I don't even live over there, but I feel for the people who do. And Marion Drive over there, we probably had over 50 petitions signed, and nearly all of Marion Drive. I believe there's somebody from Marion Drive here tonight. We don't have anything to do with that area personally, but it's grown a lot, and we love the growth of Olive Branch because we built over there when there were 2,700 people there and have grown with it. And can only thank y'all for all the good stuff that you've brought. So please think about this. I can't say any more than the two ladies that I've worked with, Bobby and Jeanette. And they're so far ahead of me with speaking what we were all going to say that I don't want to waste any more of your time. I thank you very much. I thank Asal for helping us immensely. He was very kind, very pleasant to work with, and his team, Jeremiah, Izzy, and I was going to remember all these names because they're very important people that we did talk to and that were very considerate to us. What is that girl's name up front with Izzy? Laura. Okay. Now, and Heather.
Can't use your own name, Michael. You can't do it. Continue, please, Ms. Blake.
Tina. David. Wait a minute. Heather. Julie or something, I can't remember her name, she was in the back. And I'm sorry, I think I'm leaving out a couple. But anyway, they've all been very accommodating, very knowledgeable. I think that Ason's got a great team working with him, for him, and he represented the city extremely well for what, he had to deal with us. And as soon as I found out about the petitions and everything, how many we had, and that it really wasn't going to matter, I'd heard. So I started looking and making sure and checking for other things that were in need of attention. So if you can carry out that on Craft and Hamilton North sooner or quicker, I would appreciate it because I certainly don't want anything to happen to anybody in any area. And I've had them fly over my mailbox coming down Bluebird and flip over in the house next door to me. And, several things. I mean, they've ruined our culvert, they've done this, they've done that. And we are the second house on Bluebird. There's the fire department, the church, our house, and us on the left. So we have our little forest back there, and I was asked what we were going to do with our little forest back there, our land. We're going to keep the animals happy.
Gotcha.
But anyway, thank you again. I appreciate it. And
Ms. Blake, can we get your home address for the clerk?
yes, you can.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 6805 Bluebird Lane Street, I was
Okay.
told. Bluebird Lane Street now. And that's where we live. We've been here, I've been on that same street for a little over 39 years in a different house, but I'm still there.
Gotcha.
So-
Thank you, and we'll sure share those kind comments with staff.
Well, thank you very much. And without Ason, I don't know where we would have been because he enlightened us and he helped us immensely.
Gotcha.
So we just appreciate him.
Thank you.
He's got a
Any other comments on this application, for or against? Final call for comments. Public comments are now closed. Does the applicant need to share anything else based on what feedback was received?
Thank you, and thanks, Ms. Owens, for supporting the project. We did work real hard with Song and the community to try to address their concerns. And I just want to, on this traffic issue, I understand, the concerns of people that have been there for a long time and the increased traffic as the city grows. But we voluntarily prepared a traffic impact on what our project generates, and we also have volunteered to do a traffic study at the intersection where the potential turn pocket would go as well to address traffic. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Board, any questions from at all, staff report or the applicant?
Mayor, I did have one question. First of all, I do want to compliment our staff because I've heard this has been going on for months, but the back and forth with our residents, our staff, and developer, I think that's a great job with all of y'all working together. Something that, regardless of how it comes out, at least we got together on something that could be good, should it be voted on. And Mayor, I did want to ask you this, just for the public's comments and ours and the board, this first item is strictly for rezoning, correct?
I'm going to let Mr. Dye cover the legal item, please.
Okay.
That's correct. Procedurally, you have two different items before the board tonight. So Planning Commission item number 2 is a rezoning. That's without conditions. I do not recommend conditional zoning. It's either rezoned to R1 or it's not. The conditions that the board may choose to approve and the conditions that were recommended by the Planning Commission and then later modified by staff, those conditions would be applicable to the plat, which is Planning Commission item number 3. So you've got two different items, 2 different votes procedurally, and one of them, the zoning, should be without conditions, and any conditions that would be applicable to the project and that the project would be subject to would apply to the plat item, which is item number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Dye.
Yes, sir.
Board, any questions, comments, or motions on item 2, the zoning amendment from AR to R1?
Mayor, may I?
Please.
Are you ready for a motion? Okay.
On the zoning, on item number 2.
Okay, this is very personal to me. In fact, my family moved to Olive Branch onto Hamilton Circle 61 years ago. They eventually sold their house to Miss Barrett, who spoke just a few minutes ago. Happened to just marry the boy down the road, so I have been on Hamilton Circle for 61 years since we stayed on that road. Since that time, as Miss Barrett mentioned, we've seen the Malco Theater, we've seen the Aldi's grocery store, we've seen Hamilton Place come through, Mary Drive, Ivy Trails, all of these entrances to Hamilton Circle that was literally a dirt gravel road when we first moved out here. We really thought we had moved to the country. We also knew that, many of you knew Mr. Herbert Acree, and we knew he owned the property that we're talking about tonight. And we knew that when he passed that his family would sell this property. So this has been something we've kind of been preparing for, knowing that it was going to happen. I think my biggest fear was what it would be developed into. I did not want apartments. I did not want a lot of things that could have happened. So I live across the street, just about kind of around the corner, so it affects me really big time to see this development come in. Actually, I know I can't stop it. Something's going to go there. I thank Mrs. Blake and Mrs. Owens and Asong and the planning department for all that they did to coordinate with the developer to get what we have in our package tonight. So I'm afraid that if we turn this offer down, the next one may not be as workable, and it may not be as helpful on what developments that they're going to make to Hamilton Circle, especially at the Craft Road entrance and exit. So I'd like to make a motion to follow the recommendation of the Planning Commission and the planning staff and approve the rezoning from AR to R1, because the character of the neighborhood has changed in the last 30 years, and the rezoning does align with our comprehensive plan.
Thank you, Alderwoman Hamilton. There's a motion on the table. Is there a second? Mr. Collins, second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2 is regarding the preliminary plat. Any additional discussion or motions needed on the preliminary plat?
I got some questions on it. On Hamilton Circle, probably more for our engineer. I know there's one house there that's AR, that Henry built it. Are we gonna try to widen that for the whole length of it and put curb gutters and sidewalk? Because I know it'll be 1 or 2 or 3 AR houses on that street, and we need it all widened with curb gutter and sidewalk.
Are you speaking about at the curb in that area right through there?
Now, I'm talking about all the way down the street on the north side. You got one where Henry built a house, and it's still AR.
Yeah.
It doesn't have curb, gutter, and sidewalks in front of it.
Right.
On one side of it you do, the other side you got, you know, where this other subdivision is. And then when you get down to the curb, I know we're finna do a rezoning, or
Right.
ask for rezoning down there. Will that be carried down there to where Hummingbird comes through? I mean, can we get it widened,
So,
curb, gutter, and sidewalk?
from my understanding, and the song may be able to correct me on this, is we're trying to do the widening in front of the actual development itself, but it does not extend all the way down to Hummingbird,
Well,
to,
you'll have the whole thing done but for one house.
right.
And then the two on the end in the curve. I mean, I think the city, I'd like the city to finish that, because otherwise the sidewalk won't connect, the curb and gutter won't connect,
Right.
nothing will. Now, I guess it'd be on the city to do it.
Yeah,
I don't know what the cost would be, but
in front of the parcels that are not a part of it, it would be on the city to do. So we can make requirements. I know that we have, going up on the northern section of Hamilton Circle, to put some sidewalks through that area, but it's not all, not everything's being curb and gutter. Through that area, you've got a kind of a mixture of rural, and you've got some urban sections as well. So it'd just be something I think we'd have to go back and study and look at and see if there's something that needs to be done for pedestrian safety and as far as the cars. And we've looked at this road quite a bit since I've been here in this last 6 years or 5 years.
is Henry 6886? Pat,
Yes, sir. That appears to be,
is that his?
that appears to
See, that'd be the only one from Craft Road, except for the last two, right there in the turn, that the whole thing would be curb, gutter, and sidewalk.
Do you know if there's a right of way there?
I think we got it right away. Probably Henry had to give it up whenever he built that house, my guess.
I would direct Engineer Swims to go ahead and do a study on that later, since it really shouldn't impact this application, but you can do a study and present that to the board, and our project list has 5 or 6 potential items on there, and that could be another one added for this coming fiscal year, starting October 1.
We'd be
Just
glad to.
see what that looks like.
Well, I mean,
And I think it is good as a whole to study that area. It's very urban. You can look at these, you can look at how that road's developed. You've got a lot of developments and subdivisions that feed into it, so it's certainly worth trying to, and that's what happens, I think, when you get subdivisions and here and there, is you end up with a need to connect all of that together to make it actually function the way it should be for an area that's moved into more of an urban area. So we'll be glad to look at it.
City has the capacity to do it ourselves, but as he does all the other, we might could get it contracted. You know, that one house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, to me, it's a safety issue and a lot of things involved in it, if you approve it without. But I mean, I guess that's another thing for us to look at, the city. But I just wanted to bring it up while we're
To
talking
follow,
about proving
yeah,
this.
to follow up on the sidewalk that George was talking about, down the Hummingbird, the east side that adjoin the property, it's gonna have sidewalks on one side, correct? On one side, that's on the east side,
Yeah, the east side.
okay?
I don't,
So it's just gonna be on the east side only?
does that have a trail, have it on the other side?
Well, on this report coming up
Come forward.
next,
If you will, give us your name and address, sir, and answer that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Corey Brady, 9967 Bentwood Creek Cove, Collierville, Tennessee. Alderman, yes, sir. All of the frontage of Hummingbird Drive on our side of the road will be improved per the city standard, per the subdivision regulations, curb, gutter, and sidewalk. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, on his side, for sure.
Mr. Swims, you can get a quote of what that would look like, estimate, and put it in the board's packet in one of the upcoming meetings.
I'll be glad to. I guess it was pointed out too, we're gonna have curb and gutter
This is already
and
done.
sidewalk along Hamilton Circle well in front of the development, so
All these are done.
Okay.
that'll be a part of it as well.
All right. And unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it, that's pretty common all over the city. But if we can fix that one lot at a reasonable price, then maybe the board may want to approve that. So get an estimate and put it in the upcoming board packet, please, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or motions?
Mayor, I had a question, please, and I don't know if this is appropriate for, I believe, is it Ron, the developer, or Corey, either one, but I did have a question on item 10 in regards to the roofs. I would like to, are you gonna be the builder of the homes as well, Ron, or just the developer?
No, sir. Adams Homes will be the home builder. It's a sister company, but it's not
Okay.
like the company I represent.
I'm a big proponent of 16-inch centers in homes, and I know today the standard sometimes is 24-inch. And I'm not real crazy about it for two reasons. I think aesthetically it does not look good, and secondly, it does not build as good a quality a home, and I think there's a lot of insurance statistics that will validate that. Would you have any objection, if you can speak to Adam Homes, to add a number 10 to have 16-inch centers in the roofs?
No, sir, I will not agree to that. We'll follow whatever the code is, the National Building Code. And they may, I don't know if they build 16s or 18, I'm not a home guy, but I can't agree to that on their behalf, and I don't understand what that means.
Right.
Mr. Dye?
And Alderman Earhart, if I may mention one, I think this came up with another development in town. My recommendation is the board apply the Uniform International Building Code and apply that uniformly. I think that we wind up with problems probably for our building department in terms of administering that from a building permit standpoint. If we had different building code standards applicable to different residential subdivisions in town. And I strongly recommend keeping that uniform. Now, I don't have a legal opinion on which, width centers that the construction needs to be on, but whatever the building code requires, I recommend that be applied uniformly, and that we not have a subdivision by subdivision code, if you will, for different construction methods and criteria.
Mr. Dye, if the board decides or opts to develop that as a uniform standard separate from this application, then they have the latitude to do that, right?
They absolutely do, and that actually, Mr. Reichard, that will be coming up at some point within the next year. You've got the next cycle of international codes that's in the works, and so there'll be an opportunity to review that and any number of other building code issues in the coming year or so when the next round of international code is up for consideration by the board. That's when you adopt all your codes, your building code, your plumbing code, the fire code, all those codes would be considered by the board. And any tweaks that the board may want to entertain, that would be certainly appropriate for that period of time. But I think doing it on a subdivision by subdivision basis would invite trouble from an administration enforcement standpoint in the building department.
Okay, so our current code, IBC, is 24-inch standards or centers.
I defer to Mr. Reichard on that.
Okay. Building code does allow that. Does allow. And if the builder so chooses, they can go under that, obviously, if working with staff. Okay.
But not over it. But not over it. Add or under. Okay.
All right, well, that was a request. It was not a formal motion anyway, so I will
Understood.
yield to Mr.
Understood.
Dye's wise counsel on that.
Any other questions or motions about the preliminary plat?
Motion to approve the preliminary plat as presented.
Mr. Dickerson, motion to approve preliminary plat as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Gammage, second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. And actually, Board 4 and 5 dovetail together as well. Maybe we can have staff report on, thank you. Maybe have staff report on those 4 and 5 together, and then we'll vote separately just like we just did. Thank you. Staff report.
Alderman, before you is a request to consider the rezoning of a 0.92 acre single parcel at just along or the meeting point of Hamilton Circle West and Hamilton Circle North. I think this is one of the properties that Alderman George Collins was referring to, which doesn't have a sidewalk in front of it in this same neighborhood. Just north to these, those are the two parcels that we just approved for rezoning and the preliminary plat for. As I did mention, the property is only 0.92 acres. It is currently zoned AR, agricultural residential. Agricultural residential district requires that lots should be minimum 1 acre in size. So this lot is, this parcel is not a platted lot, so it's a parcel for tax purposes. It is substandard with respect to its size. It really does not conform with the requirements of the AR zoning district. That AR zoning district was created by the county, or put on this property by the county, back in 1990, before the city annexed this property in 1990. Since annexation at that time, the rezoning has not changed. The zoning has not changed. As such, the developer does not claim, the property owner does not claim, nor did the Planning Commission find that the existing AR zoning district of the property is a mistake. With respect to the character of the area, the same conditions or situations that we had for the acre farms apply to this single parcel. This is an area, including now with the approval of the acre farms subdivision, all of these will be lots that are 1 acre in size. Herbert Craft, along Mary Drive, all less than 1 acre. Hamilton Place, less than 1 acre. This is R01 district, R01 PUD. All of this area has basically gone suburban residential. Character therefore has changed from rural residential to suburban residential. The future land use map designates this parcel as suburban neighborhood, which aligns with the R01 zoning district of the property. As such, the public need criterion is met. The Planning Commission reviewed this rezoning request at its meeting on July 8th and recommended approval on the basis of changing the character of the area and the existence of a public need. With regard to the final plat, so I did indicate, this is a single lot subdivision, so it's a minor subdivision, 0.92 acres in size total. On the property right now, there are already 4 lots. The applicant intends to construct a single family house on this property. That is what led to this application coming before you. Under city regulations, we cannot issue a building permit until the property is platted. And when we looked at the property, the subdivision plat, it was determined that the lot is actually less than 1 acre in size. And as such, it does not meet the requirements for the AR zoning district. That's why you have the rezoning application. Utilities are readily available for the development of this lot. Single family house proposed. There are water lines, gas lines, fire hydrant within the vicinity of the property. There's a sewer line shown here in green within the vicinity of the property. It will be the responsibility of the property owner to extend these lines for the construction of any house on the site. With respect to sidewalks, I'm glad this was brought up. The staff report had contemplated, and the Planning Commission had completed the waiver of the sidewalk requirement for this particular lot on the basis that within the immediate vicinity of this property or in front of this lot on Hamilton Circle, we do not have sidewalks. However, considering the improvements, the approval of the acre subdivision plat, considering the fact that the church under construction at the intersection of Craft and Hamilton Circle North will be building sidewalks, and so you really, if this piece of property, if this lot constructed its sidewalk, then along Hamilton Circle North, you would only have this 7100 and the other property, I think owned by Mr. Henry, that Alderman Josh Collins mentioned. Those would be the only 2 parcels that will not have sidewalks. It may be reasonable, therefore, to require that not to waive the sidewalk requirement on this particular lot. The Planning Commission at its meeting on July 8 did review this plat and recommended approval subject to these requirement conditions 1 to 8. Condition number 4 included the requirement, waiving the requirement for sidewalks. The Board of Aldermen can reverse that condition. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saul. Is the applicant present?
Kevin Bonham, 4270 Sunset Road, Nesbit, Mississippi. Thank you, Mayor and Board, for allowing us to be here tonight. I want to say a special thanks to Dr. Asong for explaining in detail earlier today the city's requirements. I just want to see if anybody has any questions.
Questions, Board?
I do have a question, and this may be for Andy.
Andy is here if he's needed.
George brought up the deal about the road. Can you take me back to the map, Mr. Yambone, or who's in control, where we see, I want to see where Hummingbird is coming in. Okay, if we see where Hummingbird's going to come into Hamilton, here it is down here, it's near the bottom. We anticipate in the near future that that road is going to come into Hamilton Circle north and west. My question with this lot is, when that does happen, how are we going to design that road as to where stop signs are, keep the curb? Because I'm going to ask for sidewalks, curbs, and gutters. Does he curve all of that with the existing curve? Is the road going to be widened? If he's going to put in sidewalks, curbs, and gutters, we need to know where. And then where he can actually, so many feet are from that road to build the house.
Well, when we looked at this 7415 over here and the number of homes coming in there, that's when we first took a look at Hummingbird Drive, how that would actually tie in. Your safest tie-in is going to be try to make that road tie in at a 90-degree. The layout that we initially had on it actually bypassed his lot. It actually touched the corner of it. It ran down the side of it and then was able to turn into it. But there's a number of things that we want to look at when it comes to that road, and it's concerns about what road has the most traffic, what kind of conflicts we're going to see on that road, and so forth. Because you could, if you wanted to, look at a redesign of this road so that you kind of had more of a T intersection of Hamilton instead of keeping the curve and trying to tie in at a 90. So there were just some other alternatives and ways that we probably should look at to make sure we're trying to do it at what's as the safest route, I guess. There's going to be a possibility of cars trying to come off of Bluebird Lane coming down to Hummingbird Circle. That's a great road. That's a perfect road for an alternative to Goodman Road because it goes so far east and west. So it's just a number of things that we would need to look at before we could make a decision on exactly how that would tie in. But I did look at the one where it actually ties in at 90 degrees, and it looked like there was a possibility that that could work. So it just needs some further study, I guess, for us to know the best way to tie it in.
Okay, I have another issue. We've just approved the Acre Farms subdivision with 2,000 square foot minimum square footage.
Uh-huh.
And in this development that's going to be just down the road, the square footage is 1,584 square feet. So I'm not real comfortable with saying you've got to do 2,000, but the form is already up to pour the concrete. Somebody's already got the form there, and it's a very small looking form. I just think we need to be consistent in that. All the houses on Hamilton Circle, the planning department worked real hard to make them 2-story, 2,000 square feet, side load garages. I think we need to be consistent with what we decide to do further down the road, because we're going with what the average size of houses are in these other subdivisions, and then we're going to do a 1,500 square foot house right in the middle of it. So
I tend to agree with Ms. Hamilton. I guess My question is, how did a form get designed and laid in the middle of a rezoning application? I know we can't require or tell someone when they can and can't put a house on their property, but why would we allow a 1,500 square foot form on a 1 acre-ish lot when he's gonna be asking for rezoning? And then my concern is, will that develop, and this doesn't have anything to do with it, will that developer come back and ask for this lot to be rezoned and have two 1,500 square foot houses on it? So I don't know what your intentions may be, and again, how do we get a form laid on here in the middle of a rezoning application?
Is this partly because it was under, is it partly because when it's under county, it's considered AR? Or
So
is it?
when it was under the county, it's always been zone ARO at the time the city annexed it. The ARO zoning district permits single-family residential homes. You can build a house in the ARO zoning district. I think he went out and put a form, started a construction, and then the city, the code enforcement team, he didn't have a permit. Basically, the code enforcement team went out there and,
It was an oversight on my part.
was an oversight.
Yeah.
And then gave him a stop work order and said, "Hey, you need to first get a building permit before you can proceed." And then when he came in to get that building permit, that's when we determined that the lot was not platted. We cannot issue building permits for unplatted lots, and that began the whole process, bringing this in front of you. Since the stop work order was issued, there has been no progress on the site.
Would the applicant like to respond to the square footage side?
Yeah, I just, I didn't know that I was actually gonna have to go through all this replatting and rezoning. A house was there before that somebody tore down. It was just a vacant lot that I purchased. Unbeknownst to me, there was a house there before, but, we're gonna build a nice house there. It may not be the 2,000 square foot, but it is a side load or a hook load house, and with the bonus room, it's over 1,800 square feet, so I could probably finish the bonus room if that satisfies you in the situation.
Does the board have an interest in going forward with item number 4 regarding the zoning map and tabling item number 5, the plat? There's a lot of questions about the plat.
I'm worried about these roads. On Hummingbird Drive, the previous developer, is he finishing that all the way up to Hamilton Circle? Is that part of his requirements?
No, sir. The Acre Farms subdivision that you just addressed, their street frontage ends at this location. So this will be where their improvements will end. This piece of property at 7415, 7415. Last year, the board approved, I think it was a 6-lot subdivision, which required the developer of that 6-lot subdivision to extend Hummingbird Drive from the stub at this location and connect it down to Hamilton Circle. So that was approved for a different subdivision, I think last 2 years, 2023, I think. That project, from the update I have, has not moved forward because it was only 6 lots, and the cost of doing that improvement relative to the revenue from 6 lots, the difference is very significant. That's the reason it has not moved forward. It's possible that someday maybe the owner of this 7415 may be before the board asking for an R1 zoning district to make the project viable so that that connection can be made. That's possible. But at this time, that responsibility, because to make that connection, the property that you have to use to do it is the 7415 property. It will be at this location on the 7415 property. So that was already approved, and the responsibility put on that property.
If Mr. Mayor, if I may add to that, that was approved about 2 years ago on a preliminary platform, and it was 6 lots extending down all the way to Acre Lane, and there was the 6th lot was actually on the south side of Acre Lane. And since that time, they did come back and got final plat approval and do have it recorded for the 2 lots that are abutting Acre Lane. So there are really only 4 lots left to develop out there, and they were acre lots, so there was no rezoning involved. But as part of that preliminary plat, and again, that was about 2 years ago, my recollection is that it did include a sidewalk along the, it would be the west side of the road. And then we had a cross-section that was approved as part of that preliminary plat that had an open swale section and a sidewalk, which is a little bit unusual. Normally, when you have a sidewalk, you have curb and gutter also. But in this particular case, we approved a sidewalk all the way down to Acre Lane along the west side of the property, and then with the road connection that Andy discussed earlier. So, but again, as the song noted, all of that road and that requirement is put on the owner of 7415 if he wants to get those additional 4 lots platted. And again, they're acre lots that are out there, they're just not formally platted yet. So, you know, and then of course we did have the sidewalks connecting behind the curb into Ivy Trails along Acre Lane along both sides as well, but we were extending that sidewalk all the way down the west side of Hamilton Circle with the hope to eventually connect it to where the movie theater had done some improvements out there as well, so you could have a full sidewalk connection the whole way down. And as far as the last developer that just came here, they're doing the frontage improvements. I think it was mentioned last time. They're doing curb, gutter, and sidewalk in this section right there, and they'll do the curb, gutter, and sidewalk in this section as well, all along the frontage of their property. So you'll have full sidewalks, curb, and gutter along there.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Gambo.
All right, so Hummingbird is not gonna go through right now,
At this point,
right?
not at this point.
No, but
That
what I'm
land-
trying to get to him,
The
he
lands for
started laying
sale.
a house out and everything. Have we got all the right setbacks, have we got all the right setbacks for the house and all that? I mean,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's in the AR zone. You all have already approved a preliminary plat for 6 lots. You did that a couple years ago. You approved a final plat for 2 of the lots, which have been platted, so you've got 4 remaining. But in order for him to come forward with the final plat, to plat those 4 lots, he would have to have this road connection completed, as we discussed.
Is he giving up the right-of-way for the road to go through?
Yes, sir. That's part of the platting process, is when you plat property, you plat it either into lots, right-of-way, or common open spaces. So as part of what you, again, have already approved, that was done 2 years ago, and that is proposed right-of-way. So that's already been set and determined by the board. And of course, that doesn't mean it couldn't change, and I think to the point that was being made earlier, that particular developer is having a hard time making those numbers work because it's quite an expensive improvement to connect that road, and then he's only getting a return of basically 4 lots out of that. So that's again, that's already a fait accompli. That was something the board decided. You've already approved that. That was 2-3 years ago, so.
Would that be relevant for this guy's development though, isn't it?
Well, I think that a good point was made earlier that I think it was Alderwoman Hamilton that made the point that you're not really 100% sure if you decided to put the requirement for curb, gutter, and sidewalk on this person, it would be hard to do that because you couldn't really figure out exactly where that should go. And there'd be no point in doing that if the road were to be connected down here. It might be something that the city would want to pursue later as part of a separate project that you were mentioning to kind of complete out the sidewalks and those cross sections out there. So you may want to consider just not necessarily, you know, keeping the waiver in there and just understanding that would be part of a future project.
Thank you, Mr. Gamble. Mr. Dye?
If I may mention something, the board may want to consider the mayor's question that he asked a moment ago, which I think is the pertinent question, which is the board may want to vote on the rezoning matter that's before you. And if you feel that there are a volume or a number of open questions pertaining to curb, gutter, sidewalks, right-of-way, alignment, all those issues, house type, house size, those issues, you may want to feel, or you may want to table the plat item for 2 weeks. If you feel that the number of open questions are such that you could not on the fly draft conditions to address all those questions. It may be that there's enough open questions to where there would be ambiguity in any vote that the board took tonight. It's usually best to reduce those to writing, have them in front of you, and actually know what you're voting on prior to moving forward. I would remind the board that another reason that may be a good idea is that this is not a preliminary plat that's before the board, it's a final plat. And so if approval were granted tonight, he could record the plat and move forward. If you feel that, again, it's the board's prerogative, if you feel there are enough open questions where there's ambiguity as to what you're actually voting on and what the final product would be, the board could vote on the zoning application, and the board could table for future consideration the plat item after staff's had an opportunity to address your concerns and refine those conditions further.
Thank you, Mr. Dye. So the motion would be either to approve, deny, or table number 4.
It'd be fine.
Which is strictly rezone.
So, got a motion by Mr. Wallace to rezone for number 4. Is there a second on the rezoning?
Second.
Second, Ms. Hamilton. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve, deny, or table item 5, the final plat? Sorry? Motion to table to date certain or?
2 weeks,
Two.
September 2nd?
Second meeting this month.
September the 2nd would be the next meeting. The next meeting and the first one in September is that second.
Second in August, yeah.
We're already at the second one. So the first meeting in September is going to be 9/2. That's the very next meeting. You want to go to the second one in September? Or?
Second September, I'm sorry.
The second meeting in September.
Second.
Yeah.
September the
30 days from today, yeah.
September 16th.
All right, 30 days, September the 16th. All right, there's a motion on the table to table this to September the 16th. Is
Can I make a comment? You know,
yes, sir.
I know we're trying to hold him up. Could we not do it the next meeting?
We can do it, I have no problem with that.
I mean, I'm just saying that, I imagine he'd like to have
Thank
some
you.
answers.
Can y'all get it worked out?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
We should be able to
Yes. All right, that's
work
fine.
something
Next
out.
So you amended it to the very next meeting, September the 2nd. September the 2nd, there's a motion to table until then. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Collins. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Sir, first item passed. Second item on the final plat's table until September the 2nd. If you'll talk with planning staff and work with them, try to get these questions answered. Thank you. Item 6, public hearing for consideration of application for a zoning map amendment submitted by Jarman Pergery, P.E., Kimberly Horn, and Associates on behalf of Land Grant LLC, Mark Bolding, property owner. The request is to rezone 2 parcels from AR Agricultural Residential to M1 Light Industrial District. The first parcel is 1.11 plus or minus acres located on the south side of Kirk Road, approximately 760 feet east of Polk Lane, known as 12215 Kirk Road. The second parcel is 2.55 plus or minus acres at the north end of Eastern Drive, approximately 325 feet north of DeSoto Road, known as 8048 Eastern Drive. Public hearing date was set on July the 15th for this public hearing. Staff report, please.
Sir, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The board may recall it was back in 2021 that you approved the rezoning of this 216-acre parcel from AR to the M1 district, parcel being south of Kirk Road and to the east of Polk Lane in an industrial area of the city. And the developer of that property, they're called Land Grant LLC, they've purchased 2 adjoining parcels to the property, and that is the subject of tonight's rezoning. They're also requesting that those 2 that are outlined in black there with the dash would be also rezoned to M1. Now, the subsequent item on the agenda would be to subdivide the full, what would be 220 acres, including both the parcel you rezoned in 21, as well as the 2 new parcels to subdivide that out. And that, again, would be the next item. But the first item to discuss would be the rezoning. And of the 2 parcels, the first one is just slightly over an acre in size, and we are located on south side of Kirk Road, about 760 feet east of Polk Lane, and currently that property is vacant and wooded area. And parcel 2 is a little bit over 2.5 acres in size, and that one is located on Eastern Drive. We're about 325 feet north of DeSoto Road, and that property is improved. It's got a 1,000 square foot home that property tax records show was built back in 1965. So if you go prior to the industrialization of this area, most of this land was used for farming, and it looks like if you go out there along Eastern Drive, we still have some small farming operations that are going on. Both of these parcels in the general area were annexed into Olive Branch effective on May 28th of 2021. We have our 3 rezoning criteria. There's no type of mistake that's being claimed with respect to this property. The original county zoning map showed it as AR. As far as the character of the neighborhood changing to such an extent to justify the proposed rezoning, I think the 2 aerial maps pretty much give a clear case on that. What you see on the left-hand side is the 2006 aerial map. We've got our 2 parcels that are highlighted in yellow, and you can see these big rooftops from the industrial buildings. You can see 5 of them there. And then next to it is our 2025 aerial map, and you can see the same 5 rooftops. And then you can see another 11 big industrial buildings and these white rooftops that have been built since that time. So you can clearly see that the character of that area has changed, and what's depicted is about a 1 3/4 square mile area. And this shows you the city's future land use map. It is included in the industrial distribution future land use designation. And obviously we've had substantial development of these distribution facilities during the past decade or so. We do have somewhat of a limited supply of vacant land in M1, so it's important to continue to add that. This is an area of the city where we have adequate road and utility infrastructure to support this type of development, the large-scale warehouse facilities. We have roads that, local roads that are designated truck routes such as Kirk and Polk, and they get you down to the state highway system, Highway 302 or over to I-269 or over to I-78 in the area. So really from a planning perspective in our future land use map, and the comp plan does reflect that, the use of the warehouse distribution facilities is the highest and best use on this property. And of course we do have industrial development providing our job growth and expanding our tax base, which are also deemed to meet that public need criteria. So our Planning Commission did review this application on July 8th, and they did find that the proposed rezoning met the criteria and did conform to the 2040 comprehensive plan, and they unanimously, by a 5-0 margin, did pass a motion recommending approval. That concludes the staff presentation on the rezoning, and I'll follow up on the next item with the plat.
Thank you, Mr. Gambone. Any questions regarding the staff report, board? Hearing none, this is a public hearing. Is there someone here that's a proponent, you support this application, and you'd like to share your thoughts with the board on that? Okay. Is there anyone here in opposition to this application you'd like to speak in opposition? You're opposed to this application? Is the applicant present? Come forward.
Good evening. I'm Jarman Paraguay with Kimley Horn. My address is 10191 Shrewsbury Run West in Collierville, Tennessee.
Thank you. Anything to add other than take questions from the board if they have any?
Yes, any questions you have, happy to answer.
Okay, thank you. Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Paraguay. Any questions or motions?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Collins, motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Mr. Dickerson, motion to approve. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 7 is consideration of application for a preliminary plat for Olive Branch Logistics Park submitted by Jarman Pergory. P.E. Kimberly Horn and Associates on behalf of Land Grant LLC, Mark Bowling, property owner. The request is to subdivide 220.21 plus or minus acres into 3 industrial lots, rights-of-way, and 1 common open space in several development phases. The subject property is Zone M1 Light Industrial District, including 2 parcels proposed for rezoning from AR under the previous agenda item, and is located at the south side of Kirk Road, approximately 760 feet from Polk Lane. Mr. Gamble?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And again, this is a preliminary plat to subdivide the 220-plus acres into 3 industrial lots, rights-of-way, and 1 common open space, and this would be done over 3 development phases. And again, the property is on the south side of Kirk Road, just to the east of Polk Lane in a heavily industrialized area. And that's essentially what the development plan is, and I'll go over very quickly what our phases would be. The first phase would be to plat a 68-acre Lot 1 along Kirk Road, and the first phase, part of the first phase would be to dedicate right-of-way and widen out Kirk Road along that property frontage, and then build what would be an extension of South Crossroads Drive southward, the section that would also be along the Lot 1 frontage. And then as far as the second phase goes, the proposal currently would be to plat what is Lot 3 over here to the east side of the road, and they would complete construction of South Crossroads Drive to the southern border of the 220-acre property. Now, the second phase also includes dedicating right-of-way, but not doing necessarily any road improvements for what would be the extension of Forest Hill Irene Drive, and that would be a separate facility that would not be used by trucks, and I'll get into that a little bit later in the presentation. And on the corner of the property that's on the other side of the right-of-way, that would be part of a common open space. So again, that would be part of your second phase. And then your third phase, since all of the infrastructure would be done, would just be simply platting this lot number 2, which is 53.52 acres in size. And then this drawing is part of the plat submission, and it just basically reiterates what I had just mentioned as far as the platting phasing goes. So you have Lot 1 along with Kirk Road frontage improvements, South Crossroads Drive extension. Your second phase would include finishing off those Kirk Road frontage improvements, and then also finishing off your South Crossroads Drive. And then the third phase would just be platting of 1 lot down there in the southern part of the project. So as far as South Crossroads Drive, to handle this industrial traffic, it's 68-foot wide right-of-way. It would include 2 12-foot travel lanes and a 14-foot wide center turn lane, and that would all have curb, gutter, and sidewalks. Kirk Road, with this dedication of right-of-way, would be a 80-foot wide right-of-way section, but it's also planned for basically the same cross-section that you can see outlined on the slide. If there is a need for deceleration or acceleration lanes, that would be determined by our city engineer, who would also evaluate the need for any other improvements that could provide mitigation of potential conflicts with truck traffic and school traffic, because we do have the schools that are up there. The Center Hill schools are located up in that area. So, and that leads me into maybe talking a little bit about the requirement to plat the future right-of-way for the Forest Hill Irene extension. This shows you a blow-up of that intersection of Forest Hill Irene and Kirk Road, and then our schools would be over in this area to the northeast, and the property line that we're talking about goes right here. So you can see how it's not really directly aligned with the right-of-way for Forest Hill Irene or the road. So as part of this application, the proposal would be to just designate on the plat and deed this land to the city for future right-of-way. It would be a 25-foot wide strip over on that side, and then when this property, which is under separate ownership, developed later, we would need to get the additional right-of-way and then possibly a requirement to build that roadway. Now the road, as it extends down from this intersection, the 25-foot dedication would kind of straddle the property line until you got down to floodplain area, and that's where it would kind of make a turn in the southwesterly direction, and there it would be widened out to 50 feet to accommodate a future roadway there. And this all comes from our comprehensive plan, which calls for that future Forest Hill Irene to be a two-lane road. And what it's intended to do is eventually provide access to the Center Hill schools from the developments to the south, that you could see the residential developments, and the board may recall approving the Kirk Farms development down in this area between the two existing subdivisions, and this, what's shown as number 18, shows kind of the alignment of that Forest Hill Irene future right-of-way. Now, one of the things is this property, you can see it with the line, it only goes to that point, and then the Kirk Farms only goes to that point, so you have a pretty big gap in between where you'd have to figure out a way to get that road through. There's a lot of drainage, ditches and everything through there, so that'll be expensive. And the same thing kind of holds true for DeSoto Road, which is supposed to be an east-west connection through here, and that does border this property on its southern side. So you can kind of see, and this is the future land use map, and so what you see is the road that's, again, intended not for truck traffic, but for only residential traffic, kind of straddles that line right between the future land use area that's for the industrial area versus the suburban residential area. And then you can see the schools up there in that blue color. So it just kind of shows how the plan, the comp plan and the future land use map relates to this particular project. And so this just shows you a depiction of the final plat, another page of that, and then you can see how we've got the road dedication, again here widening out to 50 feet there along this floodplain line, and then this shows you the future right-of-way for Crossroads Drive extension, and then the future right-of-way that would be needed along Kirk Road as well. So our Planning Commission did review this at its meeting of July 8th, and again by a unanimous 5-0 margin did pass a motion recommending approval subject to the 10 conditions that are noted. I would mention a few of them on the list. Most of them are standard conditions. Number 4 deals with the Kirk Road widening and the phasing, and we just want to make sure, you know, if a second phase happened to come through and they decided to make smaller lots as opposed to doing the big lots that you saw, that they would still complete as part of their second phase that Crossroad Drive extension as well as Kirk Road. So we want to make sure that that all gets done as early in the project as possible. And then number 5, just clarifying again that we're asking for right-of-way for Forest Hill Irene, but that the developer is an industrial developer. They're not developing the residential street, which really couldn't be developed as part of this because, you know, it wouldn't really go anywhere. There's not enough dedication of right-of-way to even build that road at this time, and that's, again, intended for future residential traffic. So it's just clarified there that this would not be their responsibility to do any type of road improvements on Forest Hill Irene. Now, also mentioning DeSoto Drive there, if you go back to the plat, you can see this lot number 2 does have frontage along DeSoto Road. So we do want to make sure that as long as they're not doing any type of access to that, if all their access is off of the Crossroads Drive, that there would be no need for improvements to DeSoto Road. However, in the event that they did decide to maybe have a entranceway along DeSoto for employee entrance or something like that, that it would be possible that those future right-of-way improvements or frontage improvements would be required. So that's basically what it's stating there in that one. And I did want to mention in number 10 that in these industrial parks, due to the power demands, that you do have some overhead power. So I want to make it very clear that there is an exception granted here that the transmission lines for electric power could be overhead within the subdivision. And that concludes the staff presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Gambone. Any questions, board, on the staff report? Does the applicant have anything else to add that wasn't covered, hasn't been covered?
Yes, sir. Just a couple of clarifications. We have analyzed the site in the past, have performed a traffic study. We are updating that for this particular development. The first phase in our previous study was 1.8 million square feet. This is for about 1.2, so slightly reduced. But we will have that traffic study available prior to the board hearing the final plat. While we don't expect right turn lanes on Kirk Road to be required for the first phase, we are going to go ahead and put those in at our westernmost drive and at Crossroads Drive. We've also met with Mr. Swems to discuss potentially working with the city to widen a stretch of Kirk Road that is just to the west of us. It's the one last residential piece on Kirk Road, and there's currently no plans to widen that, but we have talked to Mr. Swems about working with the city to go ahead and complete that as well.
Okay. Thank you. Board, any questions? Thank you, sir. Any motions?
I make a motion to approve as presented.
Mr. Earhart, motion to approve as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Aldridge. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Number 8, consideration of application for the first revision of Bridges of Camp Creek Phase 2 submitted by Mike Davis, the Reeves firm, on behalf of property owner Gil Ryan, GMR Camp Creek II LLC. The request is to revise the lot lines in this phase and to create open spaces, including a private drive. Subject property is zoned C4 Planned Commercial District and is located between Highway 302 and Camp Creek Boulevard on the north and south, and between Camp Kraft Goodman Road frontage and Pigeon Roost Road on the east and west. Staff report.
Yes, sir. This shows you the current outline of the Bridges of Camp Creek Phase 2 subdivision, lots 5 through 12. The Board of Aldermen approved that lot division back on March 21st, 2023, and it was recorded in February of 2024. And so, as you mentioned, this proposal is to revise those lot lines, and they're sketched in what the new lot lines would be in the black lines. So it's the same number of lots, they just change a little bit in size. And one of the reasons that's prompting this is that where you come in on East Bridges Drive, this would be a common open space that would be shared by lots 8 and 9, and it's probably a good idea from a traffic management standpoint. And we do know that there would be a new restaurant on lot 9 that I think probably the public would like to have here, and so it necessitated changing these lines a little bit. And then this just shows you as far as what we have going on. I'm not sure why that's not completely showing, but of the 8 lots that are there, we had, I believe, 4 of them that are increasing in size, 3 of them that were decreasing in size, and lot number 12 stayed the same. So it just had to do with some of the changes that were made. And as a matter of fact, one of the changes that was recently made, when this packet went out last week, it was discovered between the applicant and the developer that they did need to shift a lot line over a little bit that increased the size of lot 10 and decreased the size of lot 11. And so we kind of thought that could be handled under recommended condition of approval number 5. And then also another recommended condition of approval does deal with the overhead utilities. And if you go out there now, there is one place where the utility lines are overhead on Camp Creek, and it goes over the creek itself and then drops down and is underground at the point where you get to the Hueys and Aspen Dental area. So there'll probably have to be 1 or maybe 2 more crossings from that power line, the overhead power on Camp Creek Boulevard, to bring it into the project. And those were just 2 I wanted to point out that went along with our Planning Commission recommendation. They did review this last week on August 12th, and by a unanimous 6-0 margin did recommend approval of this subdivision revision.
Thank you, Mr. Gambone. Did I hear you say a restaurant the public would like to have?
I think so.
I want you to give me that in writing before it goes on Facebook, because it'll be 22% negative and maybe 1 happy face, but if you find a way to do that, hats off to you. But
we do
that
have
sounds encouraging. Does the applicant have anything to add?
Yes, sir.
Anything to add on the application? Too many of these, not enough of these, too many of these.
You could make Facebook if he makes a big announcement here. I
But
don't
they
know
never
if he
want to
will.
invest their money and build a restaurant.
Mike Davis with the Reeves Firm, 6800 Poplar Avenue in Memphis. We're in agreement with the conditions. I'd love to tell you who it is, but I can't. So
I'd snitch, don't
it's a
tell
good,
me.
it's a good
I'd
national
give it
brand,
away.
though. There's been a lot of interest in the property. So
Good.
You're going to be
that-
happy with what's going on.
Thank you, very exciting. Board, any questions?
I have one real quick for Mr. Gambone. Can y'all go back to the first slide, the color slide on all that? So is McGregor Crossing gonna be the private drive, or is that gonna be conveyed to the city? Which,
No, McGregor Crossing is a private, that's an easement.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what the reasoning was, maybe Mike could shed light on it, but the proposal, one of the revisions is to create a little common open space between these two lots, 8 and 9, which would basically be extension of the, where you come in on the East Bridge, and that would go down. So it would effectively be the same as McGregor Crossing. It's an internal driveway. It's not a public right-of-way. It's all, these are internal driveways that are maintained and constructed and all that by the developer.
and ultimately the property owners association or the developer for maintenance?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, any motions?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Gamage. Is there a second? Second, Mr. Wallace. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing date for consideration and action on a motion declaring the condition of the following properties to be a menace to the public health and safety and directing either the city staff or contract labor to clean the property forthwith. So we're just dealing with the ones in yellow, list B, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I can briefly go through the slides if you'd like. One might be worth mentioning. This is 9350 Longwood Drive, and this is the implantation. This is the golf course clubhouse located here. I believe this is right at the first tee. And this is a little bit different than we normally see. Much of the grass is being cut, but there were these planter beds that were put in this property, and the owner has just let them grow up with weeds that you can see look like they're over 10 feet tall. So that's really the condition that we've received a lot of complaints on, that those beds are not, those raised beds are not being properly maintained. The second one is 13185 Cades Lane. This is Highway 302 across the street from Brayborn subdivision, and you can see the grass is pretty high in that one. And this is one located at the end of Quail Road, 10301 Quail Road, Alexander Drive being over here. And you can see again, it's not being mowed frequently as it should. So those are the three properties that staff determined still had a blighting condition on them. So we would ask that you would pass that motion and authorize us to hire contract labor to get them cleaned up.
Thank you. Is there anyone here on behalf of these properties? Is anyone here to speak on behalf of Longwood Drive, Cades Lane, or Quail Road? Staff, board, need any more information on these? Any motions on the three in yellow? Mr. Wallace, motion to clean the properties. Second, Mr. Dickerson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. I know we want to get to the millage rate, but I am going to ask the board and Mr. Gambone to go down to new business item number 1. We have Ms. Elizabeth Clark, Butler Snow Bond Counsel, with us on this one item, and I know she has a lengthy drive back to Oxford, and I hear the weather outside, so I want her to be able to get started as soon as she can. So, board, this is to adopt a resolution authorizing and directing the issuance of general obligation public improvement bonds, Series 2025, in the aggregate principal amount of $10 million to raise money for various capital projects within the city as provided therein and for related purposes.
Yes, Mayor, and the board, you have a memo in your packet from me along with the resolution and the preliminary official statement. This is just the next step in the bond issuance process. This will come back to the board one more time after we receive bids and have a recommendation for the award. But this is just that next required step. Of course, these bonds are being issued to provide funds for Fire Station 6, Craft Road widening, and other projects that we have ongoing, since it's certainly a heavy construction period of time for the city. And Mayor, if there are any questions, I'm available, and Elizabeth's available as well.
Any questions or motions?
Motion to approve the resolution.
Mr. Collins, motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Gamage. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Clark. New business. Mr. Nichols, would you put the signs up, small posters up, please? Board, the posters are the same items that you have in your packet, the PowerPoint documents. If not, they'll be on the screen if they're not in your packet. Thank you, Mr. Nichols. This is a public hearing date for a budget hearing to provide the general public with an opportunity to comment on the taxing and spending plan incorporated in the proposed budget for the City of Olive Branch for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2025 and ending September the 30th, 2026. This public hearing date was set on July the 15th. I have just some general information to provide. Bear with me, if you will, before the public hearing takes place. Olive Branch's FY26, which is what's just taken place, global assessment value is $1,973,224. Olive Branch is the only municipality in DeSoto County that's went over $1 billion in assessed value, which is obviously homes, vehicles, trailer homes, etc. Olive Branch is one of only 7 cities in the state that has an assessment value this high. So I guess it's a good thing to be in the $1 billion club. Secretary of State's finding me the other ones, but just a couple other cities that I know of that are in this. The last millage increase for the City of Olive Branch was 34.5 to 38.5 mills in 2014, and we are lowering our millage rate effective 10/1/25 to 35.05 mills. Olive Branch currently has the lowest millage rate of all 5 cities in DeSoto County, and it appears will remain the lowest millage rate of all 5 cities in DeSoto County. This change from 38.5 mills to the proposed 35.05 mills is the reduction by 3.45 mills, or an 8.96% reduction. 8.96% reduction. I make a note of that with the other cities, some as high as 50 mil, some 45, but nobody's at 38.5, point being that it's sometimes easier to reduce millage more if you're starting higher than it is to already be the lowest. So we want to stay the lowest, but that comes into play. So the extra funds that this creates, what's the city using this for? Using it for a $7.5 million roadway improvement, which includes paving and some other items to take place. $3.1 million animal shelter, $900,620 for grant matching for new park amenities, $6 million for Fire Station number 6 to serve the citizens in that area on Center Hill Road, $2.7 million for Public Works building. I put $2.7 million. The board may remember approving about an $8 million contract for that building. The 2.7 is all that's coming out of this fund, so we want to be fair and show that that's what's coming out, not the entire amount. But it's totaling $8 million, $370,000 from this account for an ambulance replacement, $437,000 for equipment to maintain patch roadways and collect rubbish, i.e. another claw truck or knuckle boom truck, $358,774 for EMS captains to add a paramedic captain to each shift, $53,962 for additional personnel at the new animal shelter, $145,112 for additional park personnel at the new facilities, and the infamous other inflationary cost increases that are out of the city's control, which we all run into those from time to time, just like any business does. Some of these projects that were just named will not go forward and will be impacted if the millage rate that's been recommended is not approved. Several of these projects or items will not go forward unless this millage rate is approved. I've been asked by some citizens, Mayor, why do I pay property taxes because my house is paid for? Why am I still paying taxes on my house? So maybe my friend, the realtors, will help us get the message across that we're not taxing it like a sales tax. It's an ad valorem property tax in order to fund government services. And then I was asked a very good question, Mayor, why can't we do away with ad valorem property taxes? And I thought, man, that sounds really good. I'd like to do away with mine as well. So I did a little research, and there's right at 10 cities in the United States that have 0 ad valorem property taxes. Well, how do they fund government? Here's how they do it. All by way of county taxes are higher because there's no municipal taxes, and some of the cities that have no ad valorem property taxes have a 9 to 10% sales tax on every item that's sold in the city to fund these services. Now, if we want to go to a 9 or 10% sales tax, that'd be a legislative item, and I think that might be worth them considering, but there's no one city is going to be allowed to do that. There's 299, so if we want to approach that, then we'd ask the legislature to give us a higher sales tax and 0 property taxes. By the way, that's out of 19,495 cities, almost 19,500 cities basically, and 10 do not pay municipal ad valorem property taxes. So it begs the question of how is Olive Branch maintaining the lowest millage rate of all 5 cities we were previously and we will be after the smoke clears when all this is done? How are we maintaining that considering we're the 6th most populous city in the state and the 3rd largest city in the state, comprising of over 56 square miles? How do we do that? Mayor didn't do it. This board didn't do it. It's been an accumulation of work over the years of the previous mayors and boards, and this board also working to do the same thing, to be good stewards. And Olive Branch has a good mixture of residential, commercial, and industrial. Residential, commercial, and industrial, that's how that came about. And I have some flyers up there. I won't belabor the point, but if you see this flyer, I'm not ready to run out and hug a warehouse. We've got citizens, if you listen to social media, you think we build one every week. There hasn't been a warehouse permit issued in 2.5 years in this city, but you think that we build one every week, and we don't do that. Warehouses go where it's zoned, where warehouses go. Houses are not approved in industrial area, and warehouses don't get approved in residential areas. So there's a clear delineation. So this just shows you the 1.2 million square foot warehouse. One of those generates $520,000 in annual city taxes. That's with the partial exemption, which is only 10 years. That partial exemption, they pay well over half. If you listen to social pundits, you think they don't pay anything. They get tax exempt. They don't. They pay well over half the taxes, and it's only for 10 years. And right now, the value of the jobs are $52,000 to $60,000 a year. And I know from the committee that I have of industrial warehouse leaders, 60% of those jobs go to people in DeSoto County. You hear all the time they're going to Marshall County, Shelby County, Memphis. 60% of the employees are DeSoto County residents, and probably more would be if they applied. Okay, they're not applying for those jobs, or they very likely that would be a higher number. So at the tax rate that one warehouse pays, that is the same as, it would generate the same amount of taxes as if 415 single-family homes were being built. So if you're taking a $325,000 home as average, the amount of taxes that that warehouse pays equals 415 homes. $713,000 from one warehouse that pays $520,000 goes for our schools. From one warehouse pays $713,000. That's how we can have the best schools in the state. Industrial is never exempt from roadway taxes, nor from parks and public safety and library, streets. They're never exempt from those. So that might be an educational point as we approach and educate the general public. So the millage rate going from 38.50 to 35.05 would represent, obviously, for every $100,000 value of a home, $330.50 for every $100,000 value of a home. So the board and I are tasked with keeping millage rate as low as we possibly can, being as fair to our residents as we can, and at the same time having to deliver government services. We have police, fire, and EMS. We have public servants we got to pay. We got to maintain roadways, and that's simply part of it. We wish we had zero taxes, but obviously some are required. So with that being said, I would open comments for a 3-minute interval, public comments for a 3-minute interval, and the board's going to hear the comments, and the final budget will be approved on 9/2 on September the 2nd by a vote of this board. Public comments are now open.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jamie Ross. I'm a resident of Olive Branch in the city. My address is 3837 College Bluff, Olive Branch. I also own a business here in Olive Branch that I just opened in January. So I'm really excited to be here, and I'm actually excited to hear about all the growth opportunities that we have in Olive Branch that, like Mayor Adams just said, helps carry the city and helps kind of float the budget that we have. And I respect the time and effort that you guys have put in to try to balance this budget and make the best that you have. I've got just a small little statement that I'll read to you. Also, I am a realtor, so I'm here with the realtors. Like I said, I thank you for the work that you've done behind the scenes to carefully evaluate this year's budget. I know it's not been an easy task. I respect the fact that Olive Branch does have the lowest millage rate and the biggest, I can't remember exactly what Ken said, but has a lot of, I know, but it was very impressive, and I couldn't remember exactly what you said. So your efforts to get here and get the numbers and find a responsible path forward are noticed, and we definitely appreciate it. As both a homeowner and a business owner in Olive Branch, I'm here to respectfully just, ask, and I guess you've already done this, so I prepared this before and knew that it was set. Respectfully ask that the city commit to as close to possible a zero net tax for the citizens, and to adjust the millage rate down enough to make it a net zero impact on the citizens. I know the approach isn't about just cutting your services, because you guys do provide a great service to our city and our residents and our businesses. But we also wanted to be considerate of probably our most vulnerable population, which is low income, senior citizens, people on fixed incomes that still have a mortgage on their property and are having to pay taxes. And some of those people are going to be hit with they're going to feel like double taxation probably in the first year, because they're going to have a short escrow that they're going to have to catch up with. And so for our most vulnerable people who are on paycheck to paycheck and are really living in a tight budget in their household, it's going to impact them. And I don't know what we can do about that. But we do understand that the city's growing. We understand the financial pressures that comes with managing that growth. But we also believe that growth should be handled in a way that isn't overburdened to those who have built the community. Longtime homeowners, retirees, and our working families and our business owners. So with as close to possible zero net new tax policy, it's a statement of balance. It says we're growing, but we're growing responsibly, and we're going to protect both our future and our people. Like I said, I prepared it before you have set your budget and your millage, so I appreciate your efforts, and I think you did a good job. I think that probably every homeowner is going to say, why didn't you go to no impact, keeping it low, but we appreciate what you did, so thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ross, and thank you for treating our staff to snow cones and treats last week. They were very appreciative. Thank you. I didn't get one, but I heard they were good. Thank you very much. Any other comments, please?
Well, I didn't bring treats, so I'm not sure how that sets me up. But good evening. My name is Tracy Kirkley. I live at 3220 Shady Oaks Drive in Olive Branch. I also own properties within the city limits of Olive Branch as investment properties. I'm also here tonight as a real estate agent. I'm not going to go as off the cuff because I will go much more than 3 minutes should we do that. In an effort to protect homeowners and homeownership, I'm here as a real estate agent, and I'm sure that everyone here is, of course, cognizant of the increasing issues that homeowners have with affordability, with interest rates, with insurance going up. I'm looking at my insurance man right now, but as things continue to go up. And so I also do want to recognize that Olive Branch, I know, has held that honorable position of having the lowest millage rate of the municipalities. We respect that and we appreciate that. And the fact that you guys work hard to make sure that that stays there, as well as keeping the city growing in a way that you have. I know many of you personally, and I want you to know that everything that comes out of my mouth comes from my heart and comes in an effort to continue to see this municipality grow in the way that it has, and to protect the interests of the clients that I serve and the friends that I have in this community. Of course, the recent tax evaluations, as they have come up, obviously that has increased significantly the home values. And even with the millage decreases throughout the county that they've already proposed, and the schools, and what the city is proposing here, the homeowners are going to be seeing anywhere from a 15 to a 19% increase in their property taxes. That could be, if you've got a $100,000 assessment, mean $200. That may not seem much to many people, but if you've got a $100,000 assessment, we all know that those folks are struggling, usually paycheck to paycheck. So I also respectfully would have asked, and though it's already to a set point, that it be as much of a neutral for homeowners as it could be. I know that we're already beyond that. So what I would ask at this point, because as Jamie so eloquently said already, and now I'm going off the cuff, so you guys are in trouble, but as Jamie had said, the homeowners are going to see escrow shortages, and where that's going to really fall into play for them is that they don't understand it. That's why we're here. That's why you see a group of realtors here, because it falls on us. And we've had another mayor talk about, not from this city, that mentioned something on Facebook about that, you know, we needed to take a chill pill. And quite honestly, the reason that we're here is because we are here to look after the interests of our clients. It's not about selling houses. It's about protecting them. And so what we're asking now, what I'm asking is, if nothing else, can you help us educate the homeowners with regard to how this escrow shortage is going to affect them coming into this year? I know that the city was not responsible for the retroactivity for this being for the year of 2025, and they have been paying into their escrow accounts based upon the 2024 taxes. Some of them their payments will go up maybe for 1 year, $40 a month, but they're actually going to be double that first year, and so that may be $80 a month, $100 a month. Some of them, that's going to really affect them. So I would just respectfully ask to help us educate the public on the steps that they can take to make this not be as much of a burden. I will work with you in that. I've already started putting some things together for myself to educate my clients, and so if there's anything that I can do to help the city in that, and anything that we as a realtor community can do, that's what we're here for. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Kirkley. I'm probably going to get off script and ask the CFO, Jason May, to help me, but for a $95,000 home, this equates to $4.97 a month, and I'm trying to remember what 220 was. You don't have your sheet either, but not.
I was going to say, I wanted to say on a $400,000 home, it was a $13 a month decrease, if I remember my math right. And I'll have to get my sheet and verify that, but
yeah, I'm afraid, unless you're 65, over 65 maybe.
Based if we had kept current millage rate.
Now, that doesn't take school taxes into consideration, nor county, so, yeah. And I understand double taxation. We have many citizens that want to know why they pay county taxes and city taxes. Why isn't one half if they live in a city? Why isn't the county tax half of what it is, since the city takes care of their needs for the most part? So I understand that. Sorry I don't have the other two, but we did talk about it, and $497 for a $95,000 home, and I apologize, I don't remember the other. So Jason will probably have it figured out in his head by the time we get through. That's why he's the CFO. Any more comments, please come forward.
Mayor, we do have some information on specific addresses, and I brought that with us
Oh, did you?
tonight.
Please, that's what I was referring to. There you go. Thank you.
We had a house, maybe, these are real numbers and real houses. The original appraisal was 68,895. The new appraisal was 93,172. With our millage and decrease, their price per month goes up $5.11. And I know $93,000 is not normal. We have a lot of houses in Olive Branch that do appraise for that amount because they're smaller houses in older neighborhoods. Here's one that's a little more middle range. The original appraised value was $164,618. The new one is $225,158. Their new increase would be $12.95 from the city, on the city part. Now, that doesn't include the county or the school, but from the
That's a
city's
month.
perspective, we would increase basically $13 a month. And here's a larger one. The original value was $315,000. The new appraisal shows it $440,500. Their price increase would be $27.59. I know people, when this first started out, we're gonna have 20%, 30%, 40% increase in our taxes. Well, that number tells you the city of Olive Branch is not gonna stick you with that kind of increase. I think those are very reasonable numbers with that lower millage rate that we're trying to do. And like, again, these are real houses with real addresses that came off the website. These are not hypotheticals.
Thank you, Alderman Dickerson. Any other public comments? If not, I do want you to understand that our actual vote on this is on 9/2. That's when the board would adopt what's been proposed or recommended on 9/2. And you're welcome to return on 9/2 as well for the entire budget, but that's when the final vote will be taken by the board. Thank you all for being with us tonight. You're welcome to stay as long as you'd like. Next item on the agenda, please. Consideration of bids opened on January the 28th, 2025 for gas regulator station at Center Hill Road and Mississippi Highway 178. It was a rebid. It was tabled until this date on August the 5th, 2025. You have the bids before you. Very candidly, the reason that the next to the lowest bid was taken, the lowest bidder didn't meet all the license requirements and should not have filed, and we've notified them of that. They didn't meet the license requirement to bid on it. Anything else to add, Mr. Swims?
No, sir, the difference in it was not that significant between the two bids. It was somewhere in the $6,000 range, and we did have the bids reviewed, and we do recommend that we go with the bid to TJ Construction and their bid amount of $379,796.75.
Thank you. Mr. Wallace, motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Mr. Aldridge, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Consideration of bids open July the 14th, 2025 for apron rehabilitation, Phase 2 rebid, tabled till this date in meeting on August 5th. We tabled it until this date. Mr. Swims?
I don't have anything.
Oh, correct. You want to table this one? Okay. Very good. Okay. Table indefinitely. Motion to do that, yes, sir.
Make a motion to table it
Mr. Collins, motion to table indefinitely. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Earhart, all in favor? All opposed, motion carries. Item 4, consideration of bids received August 11th, 2025 for the public work supplies. Is that a table too? Recommending, asking the board to table it until 9/2. If there's a motion on that.
So moved.
Mr. Earhart, motion. Is there a second? Mr. Collins, second. All in favor? All opposed, motion carries. Consideration of bids received August 11th, 2025 for annexation of water and sewer in East Area 2. Mr. Swims?
We're just asking that we could extend that and table that until the first meeting in September, 9/2, if we could.
And what we're doing, board, is obviously just dissecting these bids and making sure everything's right and everything's covered. So asking for a motion to table that one as well to 9/2.
So moved.
Mr. Wallace, second. Who? Mr. Gamage, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to leave regular session with the intentions of going into executive session with items 1 through 7? Collins motion. Second Wallace, all in favor? All opposed? Is there a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel matters in the ambulance department, engineering department, fire department, gas maintenance department, public works department, street department, and the water maintenance department? Motion to go into executive session for those items. Collins motion. Second Dickerson, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. We are in executive session.